The Accidental Entrepreneur is produced by Bindhacker Law and brought to you through our affiliate relationships with the following sponsors. One of One Productions, the New Jersey-based podcast studio that produces and edits both audio and video podcasts. They sell equipment for the average podcaster and have even created a guesting kit exclusively for our listeners. North Authentic, the conscious hair care marketplace offering the cleanest brands from around the world. The Healthy Place, the e-commerce site with thousands of supplements to help you live a healthier life, along with natural solutions for chronic pain, stress, anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, and much, much more. And be sure to support the podcast by ordering some logo merchandise from our online store. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services.
Even like a business card. Mitch, would you hand someone a business card that looks like you just made a paper airplane with it?
No, of course not.
We're talking about a first impression here, and I'll use event promotion just because it's so visual.
Yeah.
If someone's an event promoter, but you Google search them and they look like they're a freaking slob, what reflection on how they run their events does that make?
Right.
So some people are more slobby or contra. It's the same thing. You get a word of mouth referral. You go to Google. Most of the time, like, people are losing on their word of mouth referrals because someone's going to Google, not finding them, look sloppy, going to the competitor. So this is like beyond even like, let's do lead generation. This is like, let's not lose leads. Let's not lose our referrals.
Yeah. Like, let's forget about lead generation yet. Let's not blow it up front to begin with.
Exactly. Let's have our image online represent our image in person, because whether we like it or not, that's just the way of the world.
The information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work, and they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Bindhacker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode.
My name is Ben Albert, and I ask questions for a living. 2 categories. I have a series of podcasts called Real Business Connections, and a marketing firm where it's all about asking the right questions to get the proper answers.
Okay, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. It is a little bit of a dreary Friday, and I'm excited to have a guest with me who was introduced to me by a good friend, Ivona, who I think is in California. I don't remember exactly where she is, but we'll talk about that, Ben. And if you're listening on your favorite directory and you can leave us a review, please leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our feed so we can continue to bring valuable conversations like the one we're going to have today. So Ben Albert from Balbert Marketing, I want to welcome you. I want to thank Ivona for connecting us. And we will talk a little bit about your background and, in business and things like that, but also, the kinds of things, the good conversations we can have about marketing for small business owners. Because I think, as much as I continue to have the conversation with you and other people, I don't think people get it. Like, they kind of get it a little bit, but then they fall off the wagon. So, but maybe you want to start with your background and your story, and then we'll kind of lead into it. I'll just start asking you questions as we go. Does that sound good?
Sounds great, man. And again, thank you to Ivona. Thank you to you for lending me this opportunity.
That was great to have you.
You could be interviewing anybody, and it just happens to be me. So I really do appreciate you.
You're the guy.
And I love the podcast. I love the name of the podcast, The Accidental Entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, Entrepreneur Magazine doesn't like it very much, but we agreed to disagree. So
you can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
It's hilarious because I'm not just saying this because I'm on your show. Like, I genuinely believe that I'm an accidental entrepreneur.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I mean, we kind of fall into things. That's the way life works, right?
That's how life works.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we can dissect it as much. We can go anywhere you want with the conversation, but the short version is COVID hits. I don't have to tell anybody what COVID is. COVID hits. I'm furloughed from work because I'm a sales executive and our number one product is video production.
No, geez.
And we're doing videos all across the United States.
Right. So you're traveling, you're doing on location stuff.
On location stuff. And then there's no travel. There's no video.
Nothing.
There's no fulfillment. And I'm in the sales role. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, even if you're good, you're not really getting that many sales.
Yeah. So, now, at that point, had you always worked, Ben, for companies? Like, you never really went out on your own? So it wasn't like you were like, oh, I think I'm going to go out on my own. They're like, here, the door's open. They pushed you out of the train and you landed in the field and you're like, what do I do now?
What do I do now? I didn't even bring a pocket knife. Yeah. I always worked for companies. I mean, I went to school. The typical path was always working a job in school, then was working 2 jobs. Then I finally got into a salary position with a company. Finally was only working 1 job. The only thing entrepreneurial I had done, I shouldn't even say this, but I say it because it's legal in New York now. I used to sell pot when I was a teenager.
Yeah, that's not legal, but it is entrepreneurial.
Not in it. That's why I bring it up. And if it wasn't legal, I probably wouldn't mention it. But so other than that, and like having a music blog and promoting bands on the side, I didn't see myself as a business owner.
Right. But you were a sales guy. Yeah. I mean, that's right. You weren't the video production guy, or you weren't behind the camera. You were a sales guy.
I was
which is kind of one of the better backgrounds
kind of guy.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the better backgrounds to go into your own business. If you don't know sales or you're afraid of selling, good luck. Trying to build a business. Not like you couldn't do it, but it's very hard.
Listen, everybody's in sales, and the best salesperson's the kid who wants a candy bar at the grocery store. We're all in sales. We're all in influence and persuasion.
Exactly.
If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you can call it business development. You can call it marketing.
Whatever makes you comfortable.
Networking.
Right. But until you accept that, I think,
Yes. You have to amplify your influence.
Right. So, absolutely.
So I did have a good background there, but I didn't have an entrepreneur on my wall when I was younger. I didn't think it would happen. But when I'm furloughed, I mean, we know what happened with COVID.
Yeah. You're like, what do I do now? Right.
I got lucky. I mean, first off, I started selling as a 1099 employee, selling magazine ads, magazine advertising, and slowly was like, let's start this marketing firm. Started Balbert Marketing.
Now, you also had a severance for a short period of time, so you had a little bit of money coming in the door, or no?
No,
they just let you go.
Yes.
Oh, geez. Okay. Trial by fire.
I mean, and if we want to get really technical, part of COVID, and this is a non-political statement, it's an absolute fact. The government was writing me fat checks to be unemployed. Right. It was the most anyone has ever gotten paid to be unemployed. So I did have
some of the unemployment money's coming in.
And what I did is I lived like a freaking poor person and reinvested that into getting an LLC, into upgrading my equipment, into spending some money on ads. Like I literally was taking the government's money and reinvesting it into
That's a good use of the government's money.
Exactly. And I'm proud that I used it that way. A lot of people didn't use it that way.
No, they just lived off it as long as they possibly could and didn't want to go back to work.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
And we knew that wasn't going to last forever. It wasn't sustainable. Even from an economic standpoint, it's not good for the economy to liquidate your economy and keep giving money out to people. It may be socially acceptable, but it's not good. Look what's going on now. Now we have terrible inflation and rates are going up, and it's all because we were just giving money away.
Yeah.
Look, everyone needed it, right? The companies needed it. You needed it. I needed it. We all needed to survive. But now, time to pay the price. And that's the way it's going to be for a while. So, yeah. But you were smart. You were smart about it.
It's complicated stuff because we'll use minimum wage as an example. I think everyone agrees that people need to have the ability to make ends meet.
Yeah.
But if you raise minimum wage, but everything else inflates at the same time, you actually didn't.
Right.
You didn't
really
actually
do
make
any
change.
Yeah. It might have gotten worse.
It might have gotten worse, but people psychologically think it's getting better, and I don't like that kind of manipulative tactics. At the end of the day, give people a higher level of fulfillment. The government was all over the place, but I took it as a great freaking opportunity where I was getting paid to start a business. And I'll be totally transparent with you. If I wasn't receiving that, stimulus, extra unemployment money, I probably would have got the first job I could get out the door because
it'd been too hard you needed money.
And that's how my life's always been. So I saw it as nothing about COVID was a good thing on a large scale, but for me,
there were silver linings. Yeah,
it was such a silver lining because now I'm on Accidental Entrepreneur, and I don't have to pretend
Right,
like
you
I'm
hit the big time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll do that as we're talking because I'm gonna have this cough. I think it's gonna linger for months. So
Yeah,
I
we're
might mute
talking about
myself here and
COVID
there.
as if
Yeah,
it's in the past. It still
I know.
exists, man.
It's only in the past for me a week ago till I get it again. But I get.
How you feeling? How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling fine. It's just that I have this cough that's like down in my lungs that if I talk too much or whatever, I just cough. But yeah, I'm all healed. I'm all recovered. If that's well recovered, but it is what it is. But all right, so let's go. But let's go back to your story. So you're now. So what's the? I always ask this question. What's the first day of the rest of your life? Like you get furloughed, right? Now you're not that nervous because you know what's going on in the economy. You're going to get money, right? Everybody was getting money. It wasn't that hard. I mean, I know it was a nightmare for some people getting it approved, but
yeah,
states were a mess. But
it was a mess.
Yeah, but the money starts coming in eventually. So what's the first thing that you did? You're like, did you sit down and say, "Oh shit, what do I do now?" Did you have a plan? What did you do from the entrepreneur standpoint?
From that takes me a different
read
direction,
a book, find an article.
I was gonna say the first thing that I did was sit around and watch Netflix for weeks, depressed and wondering what was gonna happen. And
I think I did the same thing. I wasn't really getting dressed, right? I was like, 2-3 weeks we'll be on our couch, we'll be all back to work. This is gonna be over. This is not a big deal. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm gonna like waste away my couch. I better start putting clothes on, going onto these Zoom meetings, pretending like I'm actually a person. And and then it was months, obviously. So,
yeah. So I had mentioned before I started selling magazine advertising.
How did you find that opportunity?
Just online, 1099 sales job.
Okay.
Part-time 1099 sales job. I knew, again, this is call me a mooch. I knew what I was doing. If I went and I got a low quality full-time job, I wouldn't get the unemployment.
Right.
So I got a part-time 1099 job so I could start to build. Because something like selling magazine advertising or building a paper doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
It takes a little bit of time to get to a point where you're actually self-sustaining, especially if it's a 1099, it's a commission-only job. But long story, slightly longer, the actual important part is I was like, let's try this marketing thing. I called it Balbert Marketing because I'm Ben Albert. I just took the B in the Albert.
There you go.
I didn't overthink branding. I didn't overthink anything. I just thought, you know what? I understand online marketing. Literally, the laptop that's right in front of me that I'm talking to you on right now is all I need to start a marketing firm.
Right.
I understand the sales. I understand the marketing. Let's give it a shot. So
had you done marketing before, or you just had the background in it? Because you were doing video sales before, but maybe before that you were doing marketing.
So even the company where we sold video, we sold everything. We sold Google, we sold websites, we sold SEO. The primary product was a video production product, but I had sold the products, and honestly, I was the most curious and most annoying. I was not a good culture fit a lot of the time because I didn't always follow the playbook the way it was written.
Right.
And entrepreneur accidentally, I guess. I wasn't following the playbook because I was always learning, I was always growing, I was always reading. And the way people would present certain products was often potentially incorrect. So I would kind of get on I would just kind of grind some gears in this. But long story short, I was learning all the things I needed to know about marketing where I could do the fulfillment person's job. I was in a sales role.
Right. But you to be an effective salesperson, you really do need to know what's going on behind the scenes and what the product is and how it works. What do you got to do? Because you're going to get questions like that when you're trying to sell and close deals. And you can't always say, "Oh, well, let's call it technical people." It just doesn't make you look good.
Yeah, I mean, you could be a salesperson and make a lot of money quickly, but if you're going to be a sales professional long term as a trusted advisor, you need to know your stuff. But there is a lot of people that just sling a bunch of lies and hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, right.
I'm not about that, so I was learning my stuff. So I was marketing bands on the side. I had a music podcast.
Okay.
I was booking.
Oh, you're already into podcasting at that point.
I was like a music guy, man. I was in podcasting in the music world. I was booking at bars. I was like doing all the stuff on the side, but I didn't even like define it as marketing. I was just sort of like a promoter and advocate for cool people. And I was doing that before I even had a job in marketing.
Nice.
But to get to the main point, I set up the LLC thinking, let's give this a shot. Let's see where it goes. The week of me setting up the LLC, a local charter school, Rochester Prep, they're a charter school. They had went completely virtual, as all
Got it.
schools were going.
Right.
And so they went virtual, and they wanted to offer podcasting as an elective to their students.
Yeah, a lot of schools are starting to do that now.
Isn't that
Yeah.
cool?
They're
So my
building little
first
podcast
ever
students. Yeah, I think it's
and it's
awesome.
kick butt because we can
I
also
think
do
it's
it via
great.
Zoom. Every student
Right.
already had a Chromebook, so it wasn't good audio.
Yeah,
quality,
now that it's
but
fun for the kids, but they really learn a lot of good skills, communication skills and things like that.
that's I'm spoiler alert. My podcast class was not about tech. Everybody was at home.
right.
So ultimately, we talked about communication. We talked about listening. We talked about setting up scripts, those kind of things.
Oh, they
It was
wanted
really-
to do this like during COVID, like remotely, and started virtually.
They started. I think their first ever year was before COVID, and then they had to go virtual because of COVID. But the whole reason I bring it up is that was my first client.
There you
It
go. And
wasn't
you're up in Rochester. You're in that area.
Yeah, Rochester, New York.
Right.
So yeah,
Hold on
man,
one or two.
it wasn't a small to medium sized business that needs web design and SEO. It was actually an education role, which I would have never said yes to if I wasn't unemployed at the time. So it was
Right.
like,
Exactly.
things started to happen for me, and it kind of like just things would fall into my place. It was really cool. And as a side note, the reason they found me,
Yeah, that was
It's
my
'cause
question. How'd you
my-
find them? How'd they find you?
my music podcast ranks first on Google in the region.
There you go. See,
So-
no, I get business because
Marketing.
of podcasts. Right.
Marketing.
Of course. Being seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seen and remembered. They go, well, Ben must know podcasting if he's ranking top, right? I mean, okay, good. They didn't know what to do and they found you. So you weren't really looking for a client at that point. They found you.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't looking for a charter school. I mean, I'm not.
Well, that's the
I
last thing
I don't
think,
dislike kids, but I didn't dream of being a high
Right.
school, teacher. It,
Right.
it just sort of came out of the blue.
Right? Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
So but that was still a freelance job, right? It wasn't, they didn't put you on staff or anything.
That was a freelance job.
Okay.
We
like an adjunct, let's call
adjunct.
it. Okay. All right.
Even
good.
even like a vendor.
And this is high
even.
school kids, or they have there's a prep school, so they got what?
Yeah, it
What
was
grades?
it was high school kids. They were primarily 10 to 12. And then after first semester, they loved the program, and then they did a regional program. So it's a prep school, but there's like 60 of them in the region.
Got
So
it.
then I did the local one, and then I did the regional one. So my number one source of income was teaching students. It wasn't even the marketing firm yet.
That's funny. So, and then what did you do? You weren't obviously doing all the classes. If they got 60 locations, you're building
Oh,
out
no.
curriculum for them and stuff.
We just had the local, so we had the local class, and then we had a regional class, and the regional class allows anybody in the region to attend this. It was like an
Got
extra
it.
credit kind of thing.
So let's say there's 20 kids in
after
the
hours.
class. These kids were from different places as opposed to the first class, which was just the local school.
Beauty of Zoom. I mean, they could.
Yeah,
bring in-
right.
The class wasn't that big, and if it wasn't regional, well, it would probably be 0 people. So
Yeah,
it was the
before
go-getters.
Zoom,
Yeah,
you couldn't do it this way.
that's true.
Could you imagine? I was saying that to somebody. Could you imagine if when the pandemic hit, we weren't at the stage that we are now from a technology standpoint, that Zoom was still in its infancy, but all these services grew up real fast, and we have the infrastructure and the internet to handle this stuff. Could you imagine if we were locked in our houses with no way to communicate except the telephone? How could you go on a call with 50 people? You couldn't do networking. You couldn't do connecting with people.
Imagine if the
Impossible.
people in charge were the same people that told you that cigarettes were fun to smoke.
Yeah,
and
there
the
you
same
go.
people that told you that 6 servings of bread was like the core of a food pyramid. Like we need to eat as much bread as possible.
Right, exactly.
What if those are the people running the world
Yeah,
during,
exactly.
during the pandemic, and
That'd have been good.
we couldn't communicate?
Right.
I don't know what would have happened. It could have been freaking war.
Could have been really bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
really bad.
I think we handled it really well considering
timing
the
was-
circumstance we were
Yeah.
in.
I didn't even know what
Oh,
Zoom was
man.
until, I had been told about it. I had some friends that did some like coaching with executives across the country. So they would have these little classes, but I'd never seen it. I'm like, well, what do you mean? There's people on the screen. I don't get it. And then I get an email from a friend. Hey, we're having a Zoom networking meeting on this date. I'm like, okay. Set up an account, there was all these people. Boom.
Boom.
I'm like, wow, I'm connecting with the world. So, okay. So you got your first gig, but it really wasn't a marketing gig. It was teaching kids how to podcast.
That's right.
But it brought some money.
Yeah, it was something. And the beauty about the magazine gig is I'm a 1099, I'm my own boss with it.
Right.
So when I was reaching out to businesses, I was doing a ton of research. When I was reaching out to businesses, I didn't necessarily, and I don't have to go through the whole sales structure and the pitch, but I didn't necessarily say, hey, would you like to buy magazine advertising? That was not my pitch. Magazine was part of my collection of products. So I have a web design background. I have a Google background. I have an SEO background. So I could actually diagnose what they needed. And then I had the magazine as an option for them.
Right.
However, I could also sell them my products as well. So I was kind of just building my toolbox before I really had many clients at the time.
Sure. And you weren't employed by the magazine company, so you could do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say that this company told me to call you and sell you this,
Right.
But I could call as an independent representative, and it was a local company, and I'm a local guy, so that helps.
Yeah.
That you're local. It's not like you're calling across the world as just a cold caller.
Right.
Like I live down the street. You want to grab coffee? Most people didn't because of COVID, but
Right.
coffee here or then, jump on a phone call. I'm
You have
just on the
virtual
road.
coffee now on Zoom.
100%.
Exactly. So that was how you started building your clientele.
100%.
Who was your first client? You remember? Let's put the school aside.
It was a real estate agent.
Real estate agent. Yeah, those are good, right? Because they're small. They generally have to do their own marketing and awareness just because they're part of Keller Williams or Coldwell Banker. They kind of operate as little units or independently. And
Yeah.
you started building? It was all e-commerce at that point? Are you building stuff online, or what were you doing from a marketing standpoint?
He needed a whole first impression overhaul. I see this all the time,
Okay.
and I hear it all the time. My number one source of referrals is word of mouth. And
Of
I'm
course.
like, yes, that's such a good sign. That's how it's supposed to be.
Right.
That means you're not scamming people. You're not pressuring
Right.
people.
It means people are giving you good reviews. They like you.
Right. So
Right.
if your top source of referrals is word of mouth, that means people like you, you're providing good service. But then I Google search this person and it actually looks like they showed up to work in their pajama pants.
Right. They're not handling that. They're not paying attention to that side of it.
100%.
Yeah. I find a lot of people that you ask them, well, how do you get your business? Oh, it's all word of mouth. I'm like, well, what kind of marketing? I don't do any marketing, but the marketing is happening actually because it's very hard to avoid, the virtual world, right? Because there's people take photos of you, go to an event, things get posted. So you're out there. And if you don't work on that side of it, it's going to be a detriment to you. Like one can support the other.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about that offline, and a lot of people really miss that opportunity. Now, look, I know some people are very busy and sometimes maybe they don't want to market the crap out of themselves and they got plenty of business coming in and it's working for them and whatever. But I think you still got to clean that up. I mean, it doesn't have to be a machine where you just got, leads coming in every day and this and that. Some people aren't that ambitious. That's fine. But you still got to clean it up. It's like you said, you don't pay attention to it, they're going to think you're sitting around in your pajamas.
Here's a word from our sponsors. Looking to get into podcasting? Maybe to market your business for your own enjoyment or because you have a message you want to get out there. One of One Productions is a New Jersey-based studio just over the George Washington Bridge that caters to the booming business of podcasting. They offer a comfortable atmosphere using the latest technology available to record your podcast. And they are a full-service media company offering both audio and video production services, creating both audio and video podcasts as well as video shorts for business and personal use. Professional audio equipment packages are available through their website for all budgets, and be sure to check out their podcast guesting kit, created specially for our listeners. Care for your health, care for the planet, and look flippin' great doing it. North Authentic is a conscious hair care marketplace offering the cleanest brands from around the world. Their pro stylists curate only the most fabulous non-toxic hair products with better-for-you shampoos, serums, masks, and more that actually give you gorgeous hair without hurting your health or the planet. Hey, you've only got one life, one planet, and one glorious mane. Might as well treat them all as best you can, right? Try a 100% clean hair care routine prescribed just for you using their link in the show notes. If you don't see a big, beautiful difference, in how your hair looks and feels, you can tell them they're crazy. Do you battle chronic pain, stress, anxiety, or depression? Well, if you take any supplements or you're interested in natural alternatives, you need to know about findyourhealthyplace.com. Find Your Healthy Place has thousands of supplements to help you live a better quality of life, as well as natural solutions for chronic pain, stress, anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, and much, much more. Need guidance? Use their live chat feature and talk to a wellness consultant right on their website. And be sure to use our coupon code TAE Podcast for all your purchases to get the best prices at findyourhealthyplace.com. Follow their links in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show.
Which
Yeah,
maybe
think
that's
about
it.
it.
Maybe that's it.
Even like a business card. Mitch, would you hand someone a business card that looks like you just made a paper airplane with it?
No, of course not.
We're talking about a first impression here, and I'll use event promotion just because it's so visual.
Yeah.
If someone's an event promoter, but you Google search them and they look like they're a freaking slob, what reflection on how they run their events does that make?
Right.
So some people are more slobby or contra. It's the same thing. You get a word of mouth referral. You go to Google. Most of the time, like, people are losing on their word of mouth referrals because someone's going to Google, not finding them, look sloppy, going to the competitor. So this is like beyond even like, let's do lead generation. This is like, let's not lose leads. Let's not lose our referrals.
Yeah. Like, let's forget about lead generation yet. Let's not blow it up front to begin with.
Exactly. Let's have our image online represent our image in person, because whether we like it or not, that's just the way of the world.
Yeah, no, as a lawyer, a lot of lawyers I know, I mean, forget about the fact that we have no business skills, but they don't really pay attention to, like, you know, online reviews and things like that, because they're like, well, I get business from referrals. Yeah. But you know what happens? Because I have an online referral system where if I finish a matter for you, I put you in a queue, you get an email that says, hey, thanks for your business, this, that. I'd love if you can review us, whatever. I get all these reviews. So what happens is you refer somebody. You tell John Jones, hey, you know, Mitch is in New Jersey. It'd be perfect for you. You're in New Jersey. He's a business attorney. And let me introduce you to him. Well, like you said, we connect. And then the second thing you do is you go and you do a search for me, and you see that I got all these reviews, clients that are satisfied with what I did, how I do it, good website, things like that. Then I asked them, well, how'd you find me? Well, you know, Ben had connected us. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, and I also looked you online. You had a lot of really good Google reviews. They all feed off each other. And I think it's a huge, huge gap that people just they don't really, it's not even that they don't get it. They don't think that it's valuable. And you and I both know it's very valuable and can be detrimental, like you said.
It's so valuable. And it's easy. And most people, if you ask them, well, first off, there's so much psychological going on in this. But if you ask someone to leave a review, especially on the spot when you just gave them an incredible amount of value, they will. And then
they feel a little obligated. They appreciate what you did.
They feel obligated. They appreciate it. And then psychologically, they think, wow, this person, Mitch, really over delivered. I left a review. Asking for a small favor is always great, because I'm the person who gives favors. I'm the person who gives reviews. Mitch is a stand-up guy. So when you come back around later on and ask for maybe a referral, they think, well, I already left him a 5-star review. It's instead of being like, hey, thanks for doing business with me, can I give you 10 referrals? It's like, no, can you leave a review? They leave a review. You stay, you send them, whether it's a newsletter, you stay in their orbit. And then when you ask them for the referral, they're like, you know what? I actually like this guy. And then they give the referrals plentifully because it was their choice rather than you trying to pull it out of them. So there's a lot of psychological things going on when you're building a relationship with your clients that's beyond just the 5 stars.
Of course.
There's so much going on there.
It's like permission marketing. And as a professional, as a lawyer in New Jersey, and this is true for other professions in some cases, I cannot ask for referrals. It's not really ethical for me to say, Ben, I did a great job. Hey, who can you refer me to? Now, you might be fine with that, or you may also file an ethics complaint. So, I don't do that. What I do is I ask people to review me, and if they need whatever. So you got to do a soft sell that way. Some of the professions you have to, as opposed to other sales jobs where you can, what's a good example? You're a financial advisor, right? You do a whole workup of somebody, you do a fact finder, You learn about their family. And while you're going through it, you learn who their brother and sister-in-law is and these people. And then you might say, hey, Ben, you mentioned your brother-in-law lives in central New York. I'm not going to take that. That was my doctor. Would you be comfortable referring them to? I can't even ask for that. So,
right.
So you do have to do it from the soft marketing standpoint. But yeah, some people, they look at it, they get all nervous and they're like, they don't like to sell, so to speak. Well, that's a good way to get around it. Get information out there that supports what you're doing and makes you look good and says the good things about what you're doing. But you got to have a system in place, right? I mean, you have to, or else you're just going to drop what you're doing. You're not going to you have to have a keep in touch program and the whole thing. And if you're not doing that, you're going to eventually stop doing it. That's what the problem is.
Yeah, it's a system in place, and my system is always to be connecting.
Right.
I think it's kind of toxic in sales. The ABC of sales always be closing. You're closing on the appointment. You're closing on some yes ladder to get them to buy. You're closing on the buy. You're closing on, stop closing people.
It's too much. Yeah. Right.
Always
makes you uncomfortable. It makes them uncomfortable.
And by now, it's you can smell the commission breath on people, and it's uncomfortable. I don't want to be sold to.
They see right through you.
I want to be empowered. I have a sales background. I don't sell anymore. I empower people to buy through the way I market. So instead of always be closing, always be connecting, always be front of mind,
Good
always
advice.
be providing value.
Yeah.
And then they will come to you when they're ready, and your clients will love you and love working with you, and you be your best advocates because you didn't force them into a relationship they didn't want.
Right. Well, I mean, good salespeople are supposed to help you make a decision that you should be making that's good for you, not feel like they're forcing you to do something that you really don't want to do anyway. That's not sales. Right. I mean, people look at it that way. Like sales is getting people to buy stuff. No, that's not true. It's getting people to make decisions that they need to make that are good for them. Just something either they don't understand, they're not educated, where they don't see the value of it. And then they can make it. There's enough people for you and I to talk to that we don't have to always be closing.
Not at all. It's my girlfriend taught me this, and I'm going to butcher it, but so I didn't even know what a sale was. So again, I'm butchering it, but basically a sale is when person A agrees to pay for person B's whatever, and then person B fulfills their end and person A pays for it. So just because you got an agreement, if there's no transaction, if they
still
never
execute.
pay, you have to execute.
Right. You got to deliver the product, deliver the service, then you pay for it.
Exactly. Just because someone agreed to buy something doesn't make it a sale. It's a sale when you can execute above what you, maybe not above what you promised, but at least what you promised on both ends. That's a sale.
Right. Look, there's some industries you can't even collect money until you execute.
Right.
Maybe a little bit of the money, but not all the money. You have to finish the job. Your home improvement contract. Like that.
And that's why it's always be connecting. Customer centricity.
Always be connected is very good.
Fulfilling orders properly is the true sales and the true way of doing business. It's not, I just have a high top line, but you have a low, everybody cancels on you. It's not a way to live your life. Or they're unhappy with you. They'll never recommend you. That's not a way to live your life.
No. Look, I guess there's some people that don't care. They just bully their way through and they just get these sales, but it's not something that I aspire to. It doesn't make me feel good sleep at night. You don't feel good about what you're doing and helping people.
You can tell I'm a little callous because I've been in toxic environments and I've been in non-toxic environments.
The non-toxic is much better.
But when you're in the toxic environment, you don't actually know any different.
No, you're right. That's the problem. Like if you're so caught up with being toxic and living that life, you get used to it. And then you get out in the real world and you're like, wow, this is different. I can do that. I always tell people you can sell or, help people do business and whatever it is in a comfortable way. Like if it's uncomfortable for you, then find a way to do it comfortably. Maybe that is to get a review, from people. Maybe it is to do whatever it happens to be. It doesn't have to be, sales doesn't have to be uncomfortable. If it's uncomfortable, you're doing something wrong. You need a new approach because you're going to eventually hate what you do, quit what you do, because you're just going to be, like you said, you're going to just feel like nauseous.
Yeah. And you deserve more, especially if you got a good product and service and you're not.
Yeah, it could be fun. You could be helping people, feeling good about it, and get well paid for what you're doing.
I tell people all the time, you're doing someone a disservice if you have a great solution that can help them,
Right.
but you're too shy to
Right.
even offer them the opportunity to learn about it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know how
Well,
we got on sales, but I like talking about sales.
no.
Because every
I
entrepreneur,
yeah.
you said it, every entrepreneur is going to have to be able to sell at some point.
Yeah. And I think that that's one of the problems. Like people have this impression of sales that it's this slimy thing because of the pushy people that you mentioned before in sales. That's always the sales guy was the guy pulled in with the wagon in the 1800s and was selling this stuff in a bottle like magic. And it turned out to be cocaine or whatever, years later. And bad things. And there was no caring about what or Tin Men. Remember that movie where they would come and sell the siding?
That one.
I think it was Danny DeVito, whatever. And it was like a bait and switch type of thing. I mean, they would do anything to sell to these people. You see it on Wall Street too. And they don't really understand what real salespeople do. But let's go back to marketing, because you were talking before, like you made a comment. So I want to make sure we back it up. And we teach some people some things that getting started marketing, doing it properly is easy. So let's talk about what's easy about it. If I start a company, how do I start marketing? What are my first few steps to start making myself look good? Little food for thought for people.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Most things in a lot of categories are easy. However, it's going to take a time investment.
Yeah.
And you can hire someone to do it for you, but you need to
have no money, right?
You need to have the grit to invest in yourself and your business to do it. Really simple example. Used to be called Google My Business. They changed the name to Google Business Profile. But Google My Business, Google Business Profile, it doesn't matter. Type that into Google. It's a free tool that if someone were to go and type in, Balbert Marketing into Google, I'm doing it so I have the visual. Yeah. I've got my service area. I've got 52 reviews. I've got my hours. I got my phone number. I've got products. I've got services, all for free on Google without paying a single penny for Google or a website.
So you want to basically capture your business listing on Google.
100%. Capture that business listing and treat it like it's a social media platform.
Got it.
Spend as much time on it as possible. Because another thing that's pretty darn cheap, you can go to vistaprint.com. You can hire someone on Fiverr or Upwork to do it. Get business cards.
Yeah.
Have a business card. Have a Google profile. And you can go to the old traditional way and start networking. And part of marketing is how you present yourself, how you show up for people, how you listen, how you give value.
Yeah.
So you can start marketing yourself well before you spend a dime on anything that has a bow or whistle.
Right, exactly. But like you said, one supports the other, right? You want to make sure that you got some of the basics in place. And then when you go out, meet people and you hand them their card, what are they going to do? They're going to add your email list, your email to their list. They're going to look up your website. They're going to check and see what's out there. So yeah, if you're willing to put the time in, I mean, look, you and I both know it won't be great, but you could start and build a one-page website too, I guess through Squarespace or Wix or something like that, just to have a place marker until you have the money or the time to hire somebody, to find somebody like you to help them to, build something a little bit more comprehensive, a little bit bigger, I'm always redoing stuff through clients of mine who are in the marketing business, and we've built parts over time. It took a long time. I have some automated sections of my website where you can go and buy it. This is in New Jersey, but you can buy a will, and it doesn't exactly automate it. But I had to build all those parts. It took a long time to get them all in place and built.
While we're on easy and cheap, two simple examples that I think are super brilliant. Okay. You can buy a domain name. It's going to be $10 to $20 a year. Right. Buy the domain name. You can have it redirect to your Google reviews. So when someone goes to your domain name, it goes to that Google profile that you set up for free. Another thing that I've seen people do that I love is you can have it redirect to your LinkedIn profile. So even if you don't have a website, but
that's like your website,
built your LinkedIn, that can be your website. And what better business card than LinkedIn that has your skill set? It has your resume, it has posts, you can get people to give you recommendations. Like I'm talking about stuff that literally someone could start yesterday and not spend a penny on, other than the domain name, I guess.
Right. Yeah, it's not
cost you a couple drinks.
And on LinkedIn, if I remember right, I have a personal page. As a business guy, as an attorney, I have a page for the practice, and I have a page for the podcast, so I could direct them to any of those.
That's right.
Different pages. Yeah. No, that's all great advice. I think but it's like you said, like people. they want to do it, and they have to put the time aside. I mean, that's the one commitment you have to make to yourself is I got a schedule from 2 to 4 every Monday to work on my market. I block off generally Mondays. There's always something the client needs me, but I try to block off Mondays to do my marketing, bookkeeping, things like that. So I keep the system just in check. And obviously the better you get and the more you build, takes me less time. Everything's working, double check everything. I'm just switching over to a new marketing system. So I got a couple of kinks I'm trying to work out. But for the most part, you want to make sure that it's still working.
100%. And Mitch, you just said 2 hours. In 2 hours is a decent amount of time in your day. Cumulatively, it adds up to a ton. But
Right.
I want to make a really bold statement. You can disagree with me if you want. Sales, marketing, and leadership. If you have any one of those 3 skills, especially if you have all 3, you will be able to find a job for the rest of your life.
Of course.
If you're good at sales, if you're good at marketing and or good at leadership, charisma, persuasion, anything like that, you are massively employable. And as an entrepreneur, it's not going to be easy in the front. If you have the right product, you're going to be successful. Yeah. Everybody wants someone that can sell, anyone that can market a product for them.
Right.
Or even if you stink at those 2 and you're a good leader, and you can, that's another thing that I think is really intangible, just leadership skills. But when you're investing 2 hours, maybe 2 hours a day, maybe 30 minutes a day in one of those 3 categories for the rest of your life, 30 minutes a day, one of those 3 categories, the rest of your life, what kind of life are you going to live?
Oh my God, you'll be happy, successful, fruitful, have all the options. I was looking at it that way. Somebody says, well, you think like maybe building a website, let's say, or building a keep in touch program or setting up marketing things. Does that really work? I said, well, think about it. If you did all these things right? You're getting reviews, you're meeting people, you're connecting with people, you're keeping in touch with them, you're providing with valuable information. Those people are giving you referrals. If all those things are working at the same time on a constant basis, is it possible to fail? I don't think so. I mean, if you're still failing, then you're totally missing something. But I was looking at it that way.
It is possible to fail if your product or solution isn't good or doesn't work.
Right. Obviously, I put that aside. Right.
And then you humble yourself and you go do something else. Like you can fail for 6 months to a year, find out that you're not in the proper position and go be successful elsewhere.
Right. You learned.
Right. So, but you as a person, you're not going to fail long term.
No.
A time in your life might fail, but you won't.
Exactly. Look, even if you failed at whatever you're doing, if you're doing it right, you're still building connections. You're still meeting people for other, resources. I was talking to a guy earlier for another episode, and one of the things he did when he was young, he's still young, I think he's in his 30s, but when he was young, is that he would go out and he would try and meet somebody, get introduced to somebody who's successful, and ask them why they were successful, what did they fail at, what did they learn, and then Ben, can you introduce me to somebody else that you learned from, and he would move up. And not only did he learn a lot, and now he's in real estate. He owns a couple of companies, and they have some technology companies and all kinds of stuff. But when they went to raise money for one of the companies, I think it's a technology company, he had a network of people to go to. Now, maybe you, Ben, weren't the guy who invested in the company, but he said, Ben, remember you told me you did this and this. Do you know anybody I can talk to about raising capital for the company? Sure. And then, you know what I mean? He already had that in place. And if you do all those things, regardless of what you're doing now, if you end up in a different profession or a different place, or you go out on your own and it's, you're working for a marketing company and now you got your own marketing company, you're going to be successful if you just do those things on a regular basis, because you'll always have a fallback. You'll always have a network. You'll always have people that know you and trust you and like you and want to help you. People generally want to help, I think, right? I mean, they enjoy that. When you go to somebody and say, hey, will you buy this? They're like, no. And instead you go to them and say, hey, would you help me out with this? I want your advice. Sure. Everybody wants to do that. Everybody wants to help you, give you advice, Ben. I don't know if you and I can do business together directly. Maybe I need you, maybe I don't, but I can definitely give you advice. And then you know who you meet. Sky's the limit. So I think it's all great stuff. How many many clients you guys have now? Because you've been doing this for several years now.
Dang, I can't give you a count.
Good. That means it's a bigger number than 3.
Well, so yes and no. Here's the thing. There's 2 major categories. There's the pure DM, like freelance, one-time jobs.
Right.
For example, building a website, creating a
Right.
video, logo design.
Yeah, I do
And
a
then
will
there's
for
my-
somebody and then they're done.
Exactly. And then
Right.
there's my ongoing clients that most of which I've been with for over a year now. I've only been in business for just over 2 years. Wow. But I've only been kicking butt for about a year. And most of my clients have been with me over a year. So those reoccurring clients that I work with on a month-to-month basis, I think there's 8 of them.
Yeah.
There's 7 to 9. I'm kind of counting them in my head. That doesn't matter. And then I do a lot of odd jobs on the side, which bring quick income, one-time deal, as you just mentioned, sometimes needed.
Right, of course. And you have, I assume the company's all virtual at this point, right? So you have some freelancers that do work for you, or a lot of it at this point you're still doing?
Yeah, I'm 100% virtual, and you hear 8 or 9 clients. That's not that big. But what I do is
Well, that's a lot of bandwidth for one person.
Yeah, I have partnerships. I'm still partnered with the magazine newspaper. I'm partnered with freelancers. I have a graphic designer that I pay full time. And then just transparently, we don't take on clients that have $100 a month budget.
Right.
We want to provide premium services to businesses that are looking to scale and really grow. So I don't need 50 clients, 10 to 15 would be my sweet spot. And I honestly could probably outsource some stuff and just live the life of my dreams. I'm thinking as an entrepreneur, I'm thinking 5 years down the road, but
yeah, we have to think that way, right? Why are you doing it?
I'm trying to build a lifestyle. Yeah.
Of course. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's true. I think some people, they don't realize what they can automate and outsource and continue to grow and improve the quality of their life. I think that's one of the advantages of being a solopreneur, I guess. I mean, even as a lawyer, I grow but I have a lot of per diem people. I have a lot of colleagues that I send things to and vice versa. I do not want employees anymore. I don't want payroll. I don't want all the BS that goes with it. And I don't know where that leaves me in 10 or 15 years because I can only bring on so many clients. But like you said, I don't need 200 clients. I have hundreds of clients that need different things at different times. But in terms of regular monthly paying retainer clients, I'm getting up there. And if I get to the point where I'm at 10 or 15, I'm going to have to hire somebody to help me with it. So I don't know if I want to. It's life's a choice, right? That's why when you're in business, you get to choose who you do business with, how many people you do business with, and how you grow the business.
And you don't have to listen to what anybody told you should do. Like, that's the beauty of, even if you're not an entrepreneur yet and you're looking to start a side gig.
Yeah.
You don't have to listen to anybody. I mean, you have to listen to the law, obviously.
Right.
However, if you want to take a day off, you can take that day off. If you want to scale, you can scale. If you're happy let's just use blanket numbers.
Okay.
If you're happy making $100K a year, working 20 hours a week, maybe that's better than making 150 working 40. That's up to you. That's completely up to you. That's the beauty.
Well, I think a lot of people are realizing that during the pandemic, right? With the big resignation, they're calling it, right? Because people are realizing that my life's too short. And, I think one of the problems in this country is that we live to work. We don't work to live like in other parts of the world where they're more focused on living and family and things like that. And the working is just something that supports all that. We do it the other way in this country in a lot of cases where people are working 60, 80 hours a week and, they kiss their kids at night when the kids are sleeping already. And they leave in the morning before everyone's up. And, maybe on the weekends they see them and then life passes by and there's nothing. What's the point, right? They're all the ashes at the end of the day anyways. Dust.
Yeah.
Everyone's gone. Yeah, exactly. Well, I thank you for sharing your advice. I wish you the best of luck. I want to stay in touch and follow your progress. And, maybe we can check in a year from now and see what's going on with the business and what are the things people should be doing and stuff like that. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you, interact with you, learn with you? I'm going to guess LinkedIn is the first place.
Yeah. So I'll make it super easy for people.
And we'll put the links in the show notes, Tim.
So the links are in the show notes. I'd Google one of two things. Google Balbert Marketing. That's B Albert Marketing. All right. Albert's one word.
Right. And it's on your screen, your virtual background.
Yeah, the Balbert logo.
There you
So
go.
Google Balbert Marketing or Google Real Business Connections. Real Business Connections is the podcast. If you want to listen to just incredible conversations just like this, we didn't even touch on that. We could go freaking 5 hours on just that.
Well, people should definitely subscribe to the podcast. How often do episodes come out?
I'm reducing frequency, but at least twice a week.
Oh, that's a lot. I was doing twice a week. It was getting too much. Now I do once a week.
It's the beauty, and we don't have to get into this, is I have enough clients that I don't have to do. Podcast is an incredible networking tool,
right?
But it's taking time from my clients, so I have to reduce the podcast simply so I could serve more people. But if you were to Google Balbert Marketing, my website, I'm redoing it. It's literally just a one-pager with all my links in one spot.
Got it.
So literally the LinkedIn, the Instagram, the Facebook, the podcast, all my services.
It's all there.
All right there. So just go there. And my Calendly link's there too. I don't charge people for my time until we actually start implementing a solution. So if you want to network and chat, let's talk.
Sure.
So
awesome.
It's all right there.
All right. So Ben, I can't thank you enough. And let's definitely stay in touch. People reach out to Ben, go to Balbert Marketing, connect with him on LinkedIn, and let's all start learning from each other. I think it's always a valuable exercise.
Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Accidental Entrepreneur. Opening and closing music written and performed by Howie Moskovich and made to order music. For more information about Howie and his music services, please follow the link in our show notes. If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on Amazon Music, Spotify, and most of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@beinhackerlaw.com. The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted by Mitch Beinhacker and produced by Beinhacker Law. If you'd like to learn more about our business and legal services, you can find us on social media or visit our website at beinhackerlaw.com. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.